This is Digital Logic Design Lab, experiment number 2, Introduction to Quartus II and ModelSim Altera. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use these two software to enter our schematic design and produce waveform diagrams so that we can verify the functionality of the schematic design. Now the question is, why do we need two different software? Well, the first software will be used to enter our schematic design by drawing logic gates, and the schematic design will be in the extension of .bdf, stands for block design file. So after we draw our schematic, we will then use ModelSim Altera so that we can generate waveform diagram to verify the functionality of the schematic design. So Quartus II will function as the design entry. ModelSim Altera will function as the simulator. So that's why we need two software. However, ModelSim Altera simulator requires the input file to be in netlist form, and the netlist file must be in VHDL format. Now, what is a netlist? A netlist is basically a circuit which is described in words, not in schematic. And the words must be written using a special type of language called VHDL. VHDL is the short acronym for VHSIC HDL. VHSIC stands for Very High Speed Integrated Circuit. HDL stands for Hardware Description Language. So basically, it's a language that can describe a hardware. Hardware here means circuit. Because the input file of ModelSim Altera simulator requires the file to be in netlist form, therefore we will use Quartus II Altera to perform a second task. The first task is to enter our schematic design. The second task is to compile the schematic design so that we can produce the netlist file. And the output netlist file will be in the extension of .vho. VH means VHDL, O is output. Okay, let's get started. First, double click on the Quartus II icon so that you can open or invoke the software, which I've already done here. Now, before you draw your schematic design, you have to create a new project and you have to set a few project settings. So click on File, New Project Wizard. The front page here is just introduction, which tells you what you're supposed to do. You can read this on your own. Click Next. Then the first page, you have to set the working directory for this project. Browse through your directory, find your Altera main folder, find a student folder under the Altera main directory, and choose this location to be your working directory. What is the name of the project? You need to give a meaningful name. Since our experiment is Lab 2, you can call it Lab 2 and give your initial. A project can contain multiple design files. However, one of the multiple file must be your top file or your main file. And the top file or the main file, the name of it, must match with the project name. Since in this lab, our project will only have one file, so the project name and the file name must match. Click Next. If you have multiple design files that you want to add to this project, you can use this page to add the different file to the project. But for our case, no, so you just click Next. Now for advanced users, when you have designed your circuit, you can download your circuit to a programmable chip, which what we call a device. There's a list of devices here which you can choose to program. Since we want to keep our design simple and we want to keep the warning that we will receive as few as possible, so choose a very basic device, max 7000S. You can ignore all the other settings. Click Next. EDA tool setting. Now we are only interested with two tools. The first one is design entry, which is using Quartus. The second one is simulation, which will be using ModelSim Altera, and the format will be VHDL. Actually, there are three formats to choose from. For our lab, we're going to choose VHDL. Just accept the default setting, click next. The last page is the summary. So you can read this. This is your directory, student, project name, file name, the device that you have selected, Max 7000S. Design entry will be Quartus, but by default, it will be chosen by the software. Simulation is ModelSim Altera, format is VHDL. Then click on Finish. So we have created this project under this device, but we haven't created any file yet under the project. There are a few more settings that we need to make. Go to Assignment, click on Setting, go to EDA Tool Setting, go to Simulation. For simulation, the tool name is ModelSim Altera, format is VHDL. The location of the output file will be here. Just choose this as default. Click on More EDA Netlist Writer Setting. After we compile, we want to generate netlist, so we have to choose this option to be on. Double click, choose on. Generate netlist for functional simulation. Make sure you choose on. Then location for the user compile simulation library. Where do you want to save all your simulation library? User means the designer, which is you. So choose the student location. Go to Altera directory, student folder. Alright, so choose this location for our library. Click somewhere else so that this can be set. Click OK. Go to More Native List Setting. Make sure that location of user compile simulation library is the same as the previous one. If yes, click OK. If not, you have to set it again. Then click OK. Alright, so we have done with all our setting. Now it's time to enter our schematic design. So click on File, New. Click on New, choose Schematic File. Click OK. So this will be your template to enter your schematic design. You can detach this to make the working space a little bit bigger. To find your logic gates, click on the symbol tool. Go to Library, Primitive, Logic. I'm not going to actually draw the circuit in your experiment. I'm just going to give you an example of how to draw a simple circuit. So let's say I'm going to choose OR gate. You can place multiple OR gate. Press Escape if you want to cancel. Highlight and delete if you want to remove the remaining gates. If you want to rotate or flip, you can always highlight and choose these three. This is rotate, this is flip vertical, flip horizontal. Let's choose another gate. This time let's choose AND gate. N2 is 2 input AND. Now to connect wires between two gates, you just click at one end, then drag it to the other end. Right? Now your circuit must have input and output. So choose pin and choose input. So this will be our input pin in. And you also need output pin for our output. Then again, make your wire connection. Then you can change your input name. Let's call it A, B, and C. You can also click on the pin itself and change this to your label name. So either you highlight or you double click. Let's call the output Y. And let's attach it back to the window. So this is our file. If you can see that we haven't saved our file yet. So the asterisk here means the file has not been saved. So go to File, Save As, since this is the first time we are saving it. Accept it as default and make sure that this is ticked. Add file to current project. You want to add this schematic file to your project. Click on Save. So the file has been saved, the asterisk is gone. And if you click on here, your file has been added to the project. Now if you want to print this schematic, you can go to File, Export. Make sure you choose a location where you want to save your picture. Then choose a format, either in JPEG or bitmap. Let's use bitmap. I want to save it as student. Export. Let's see whether it's there. So this is my file. If you want to eliminate the grid lines, you have a lot of grids here. Go to File, Show Guidelines. If you untick this, so this will look nicer. Alright, once you have finished drawing your schematic, then we want to compile the file so that we can produce the netlist. There are three ways you can compile the file. Either you click on this, or you can go to Compile Design here, right click and click Start, or you can go to the Processing menu and click Start Compilation. So let's click on Compilation. So here it will show your status, compilation status, and this is the compilation report. If you want to view your schematic, click on the schematic, compilation report, and this is your file. Full compilation was successful, 6 warning. Read the warnings. If the warning is about clock, because our design does not have clock, or if the warning about not supporting a feature or not licensed, so don't worry about it, because since the software is a free software, so some features are not licensed. Close. And another important information is that if you make any changes to the schematic, then you have to recompile again. So if you edit your schematic, you have to recompile again. Now since we have compiled the design, which means we have created the netlist file, so you can actually view the netlist file. Go to Student, Simulation, ModelSim, choose All File, see the .vho, this is our output file. So this is the netlist file, and this file will be the input to ModelSim Altera. Don't worry about the algorithm, we are not this is not our scope. So let's close this. So this is end of video part 1, where I've shown you how to use Quartus II Altera. The second part of the video will show you how to use ModelSim.